You know what? I can miss a breakfast. It's just food. But if I don't go to the shiur, I will never be able to regain what I missed. He starts to get really hungry because he's used to eating and he's basically fasting for hours. So he runs home, runs back to Beis HaMedrash, hoping he'll still make it. And as he walks in, all of a sudden the Yehudi HaKadosh, his eyes are still closed. His eyes open with a huge smile. And says, "What?" MITZVAH, everybody. This Mama Malka and story is Ili Nishmas Hirsch Leib Ben Ze'ev. That is our gracious host's grandfather. And let's get on with the story. So, actually, this story has to do with the mitzvah of Kibud Av V'Im. Here goes. So, the Yehudi HaKadosh of Pshischa would give a shiur to his Talmidim, which was a very deep shiur. And his Talmidim, obviously, were not your average yeshiva bachrim, but all of them were above average. They were very, very, they were brilliant themselves. And in the shiur that he would give, every once in a while, there would arise a question from one of the Talmidim, one of the students, which would be such a strong question, it would contradict something so greatly that the Yehudi HaKadosh would have to stop, really, really think deeply into everything that this contradiction implies, and he would have to find a way to resolve this contradiction, and he would go into such a deep concentration that he would totally lose track of where he was. He would, as if he was going into a different world. And sometimes often it would take over an hour before he would come back and give the answer. Now, one of his students was a boy, or rather a young man, whose father had passed away. When he was, he was a yasem, he lost his father at some point in his life. And his mother worked very, very hard, dedicated herself, was meiser nefesh, so that her son had everything that he needed in order to continue learning in yeshiva. Really, really, put in immense work daily just to give him everything he needed, and that he should be able to continue learning. That was her priority. One of the things she would do is she would make sure that he had a very filling and healthy breakfast, so that he would have koach to go learn. Now, one morning, this boy was running late for whatever reason. This young man was running late, and he realized he wouldn't have enough time to eat his breakfast like a mensch, and also get to the shiur on time. And so he was deliberating what he should do. His mother made him this breakfast. It would be not nice for him to not eat, when his mother worked so hard for him to be able to have this breakfast, but at the same time, how could he miss a shiur? He goes back and forth and he says, you know what? I can miss a breakfast. It's just food. But if I don't go to the shiur, I will never be able to regain what I missed. And so he decides he's going to the shiur. He goes to the shiur, and he's sitting there, and the shiur is going on, and he starts to get really hungry because he's used to eating, and he's basically fasting for hours, and he's starting to feel really weak. But in the meantime, a student asked a question, like one of the questions we mentioned earlier, which was one that sent the Yehudi HaKadosh into very deep thinking. And this bacher knew, the student knew, that this very likely is going to take over an hour. And so he said, hey, I could go quickly home, eat the meal that my mother made for me, and then I could come back, and hopefully, based on the typical amount of time this takes, I'll be able to not miss anything and also take care of my hunger. So he runs home. He goes home, and his mother's obviously very happy to see him. He's going to eat, and he washes like a man. She eats like a man, slowly, like a Talmid Chacham is supposed to. He benches with kavana, and he's like, okay, now I'm going to go run back to the shiur. But as he's walking out, his mother asks him, she says, my dear son, I need food to feed the goats and the sheep that we have. It's on the roof, and it's very heavy. I need you, my strong boy, to go and bring down the food from the roof. So the boy says, Mother, I would love to. The problem is I came here, and I only came here because I only stopped my learning because there was a question that was asked, and therefore, I had a break. But if I help you now, I might miss it. Mommy, please let me go. And obviously, his mother also prioritizes learning, and she said, even though it was very hard for her, she said, you know what, you're right. You should go. You should go learning. That's the most important thing. You should go and learn, and that's what counts. And so he starts going. But then he thinks to himself and he says, the entire point of learning is for Maise. Lo hamidrash ha'ikar el ha'maise, right? So I'm doing all this learning, I'm running back to learn, and meanwhile the mitzvah of kibbutz avim, which is right in front of me, I'm not doing. Doesn't make sense. So he runs back, as fast as he can, with his resources, he goes onto the roof, he takes the pack of food, right? Whatever it was that was on the roof, he brought it down, and he put it where it needed to go. His mother was ecstatic to see. Obviously it made her life better because until now she was going to either have to do it herself or ask a stranger to go on the roof and take it down. So she was very happy, and he, shakes off whatever, stuff was on him from carrying the heavy thing, and he runs back to the Beis HaMedrash hoping that he'll still make it. And as he walks in, all of a sudden the Yehudi HaKadosh, his eyes are still closed, his eyes open with a huge smile, and says, what mitzvah did you just do that in that schus, Abaya came in with you, and Abaya told me the answer to this big question that was raised? So the boy now has no choice. He has to say what happened. He says, Rebbe, I didn't eat this morning because I wanted to come to the shir and I had to go. And he says the whole thing. And his mother asked him, and he left, and he went back because and he basically did the mitzvah of kibbutz avim. And the Yehudi HaKadosh of Shishcha says, aha, Abaye, it says about him that when his mother was pregnant with him, his father died. And when his mother gave birth to him, she passed away. His father and mother both passed away before he ever knew them. And so he never had the mitzvah of kibbutz avim. And therefore it says that when great people couldn't do a certain mitzvah, when a shamis, in general also, when they can't do certain mitzvahs, they'll go and accompany a person who's doing that mitzvah, so they should have a part in that mitzvah. And so Abaye accompanies anybody who does the mitzvah of kibbutz avim. And so when you went ahead and you prioritized honoring your mother, Abaye went along with you, and he came with you to the Beis HaMedrash, and he was able to answer the question. And so this is a story of honoring your parents, and now we understand. By the way, when we do a mitzvah, we don't know what that entails, right? We don't understand who may be accompanying us, how many neshama, which neshama, who's neshama, where, how many neshamas are there in order to also partake in the mitzvah. So we never let a mitzvah pass up. MITZVAH, everybody.
Smash the like button.
Before that, may we merit to have our parents live long and healthy lives.
Amen.
May we merit to honor them, do the mitzvah of honoring our parents, and may we be reunited with all our loved ones that are no longer with us very soon.
Amen.
MITZVAH.